right, man. It's like, it's not like we're friendly, but it's not like, you know, we go over each other's house very often and stuff. So I'm like going, oh my God, maybe this dude didn't mean to write me an email at all. Like maybe he meant Kevin Costner or some shit like that. So I got real tight about it, so I sent him an email back, and I was like, hey man, looks like I'm coming to visit you, everything's cool and shit, but I just want to throw this out there in case maybe you hit the wrong Kevin in your address book, man. This is Kevin Smith, the guy that made Clerks. Sent the email and shit, and within 10 minutes got an email back from JJ, 2 words, just said, oh fuck. So they didn't cancel me, and they let me go to the set for Star Wars Episode 7. I've talked about other places, so I'll do a truncated version of it for you here. I've thought about it a little since it happened, and since I spoke about it that first weekend, you can probably see it somewhere online. But in a nutshell, I signed an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, not allowed to say a lot of the things that I saw, so I've been very careful about the things that I've said and whatnot. When I first got there, you walk onto the lot of Pinewood Studios, you get to the Lucasfilm offices, there is a sign hanging up where they make you sign the NDA. There's a sign hanging up, looks like one of those old World War II posters, you know, propaganda posters. And it features like Captain Nita or Admiral Piet from, you know, the Imperial Star Bridge of the Star of the Executioner or whatever. Two Imperial generals, one going like this. And it says, loose lips sink starships. And I was like, that's real cute, that's clever. And JJ's assistant was like, he hung that up just for you. So I was like, fair enough, fair enough. So I signed a bunch of shit, said I can't tell you what I saw and stuff, but I'll kind of work around it to tell you what was there. What was there, honestly, was absolute magic. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been, you know, doing what I do for a living, sometimes well, sometimes not well, depends on who you ask, for 2 decades now. And when you make the sausage, when you get to see behind the scenes and whatnot, it's not as magical anymore, I'll be honest with you, man. Like, I don't view movies through the same prism most people do. I don't view them as like, I would do that better, because I never would do that. Most movies I watch and be like, how'd they get that done? You know, I'm still fucking amazed 2 decades in, but 2 decades in, you know how movies come together. It's like knowing how the magician does the tricks. And even though you can enjoy a good stage show, at the end of the day, you know, it's movies, it's your job or something like that. So that's the prism through which I view most movies. That's why when movies capture my imagination or heart, like the Marvel movies or something like that, or fucking, you know, Batman movies, that like takes me back to a place where I'm like, oh, it thrills me. There's something inside that'll still fucking thrill me. So when I went to that set, man, I went like in a very clinical directorial fashion. I'm a guy who works in the movie industry and stuff, and I was lucky enough to get invited to the set of a sequel to a movie that when I was a kid, I was absolutely in love with. Those movies defined my childhood and stuff. So for me, I'm like, this is great, what a cool opportunity. But it was all here. Everything so far is in my head, my very clinical head and stuff. And I'm going, this is cool. I'm going to go to the set. I'll see JJ. I'll see if they're making the movie, how they're making the movie. This is going to be neat. And it was very superficial. So I get there, and it's a real world. You know, they had sets. It wasn't like a series of blue screens with somebody standing in front of like a coat rack, and they're like, that's going to be fucking snow walker. You know, it's actual tactile set. I walked on a set that will actually be in the movie. One day I'll see the scene and be like, holy shit, I was there. I touched the walls of the, and I almost said it, but I touched the walls of the fucking thing. So I was on the set, I saw costumes, I saw, you know, artillery and shit like that. I saw things that, you know, I loved as a kid. It was interesting, man. I was walking across the set and I was like, this is great. He's getting it so right. Like, all the elements were right. It looked like J.J. Abrams had the best set of Star Wars figures ever and was making the best possible movie one could. So, you know, still, very clinically, I'm like, this is cool. Good for him, man. I like him. He's a real cool guy and shit. And he's trying like a fucking motherfucker to make a perfect Star Wars movie. So, you know, I'm like, this is neat. This is all great. Look at you. And I'm going down the list. You got this. You got this. This is so smart. Who's not going to go see this movie? Still very clinical about the whole thing. Still enjoying it on a professional level and shit. Then JJ told his assistant Morgan, he's like, take Kevin to stage M. And I was like, right on, we're going to fucking stage M, man. So off to stage M, don't know what's on it and shit, but like, you know, I'm sure it's gonna be more Star Warsy and fun and whatnot. And I'm gonna be like, wow, this is all neat. Same way, right now, everything's cool, man. You take my pulse, it's normal. My heart's just beating normal and shit. They get me to stage M, they open up the doors, I walk onto the door, the set of stage M is dark, but you can see there's something fucking huge there and whatnot. There's a guy, British guy, because it's all in England where they're shooting it, right? British guy on whose job to watch the set. And he goes, do you want me to turn on the lights? And it was so creepy, I thought it was like in a castle movie and shit. Because we were in England, I was like, yeah, fucking please turn on the lights. And he turns on the lights, and it's not just the lights, you know, on the stage. All of a sudden, I see a giant set, and what's the lights he needed were the lights inside of what looks like, from the outside, the Millennium Falcon. Now, it's on a movie stage, so from the outside, it doesn't look like the Falcon as we know it in the movies, but the shape of it and shit like that, I see these, the doors, the opening doorway, the door platform, walks up onto the Millennium Falcon. I see it, so I'm like, oh shit, that must be the Millennium Falcon. I read online that people taking pictures of it being built, and here it is and stuff. So I'm looking at it going, that's real cool. And Morgan goes, do you want to walk on it? And I go, oh fuck, yeah, absolutely. What a kick that'd be, man. Like, I ain't baked, I wish I was, because this would be amazing. You know, because I used to love Star Wars when I was a kid, and here I am on the set, and this is cool, and fucking, I never thought I'd be here, man, so fucking, let's go walking on the fucking set, and I'm gonna step onto the Millennium Falcon. And everything is still clinical, and everything is still right here. It's all in my head, man. And then I take one step on that platform. That same platform that when I was a kid, I had a small version of this fucking shit. That was like my best friend in the world. I slept with it and hugged it. Because it was like a $35 toy. My parents were like, you better fucking love that. And I loved it, particularly in my teenage years. But the Wookiee did not win, I assure you. So there it is, man. I had that Millennium Falcon as a kid, and many times I walked my figures up the platform and stuff, closed the platform, picked it up, and sailed it through my house and whatnot, made my own version of a Star Wars movie, probably like a Kevin Smith movie, nothing happened, they just talked to each other a lot. But still, I had my own adventures and shit like that. So, first step on the landing platform, the walk path. Fuck, I can't even say it. Path with it. What would you call it? Ramp. Apparently I smoked ramp away. It was worth it. Anyway, so there I am, first step on the ramp. And I swear to God, you know, I'm 43 years old, in about a month or so, less than a month, I'm gonna be 44. With my first step, my 40s disappeared. And then with my next step, I was deep into my early 30s and shit, and suddenly Cop-Out disappeared. What a better world it was. Then I took another step and I was in my 20s, circa Clerks and shit. When I first got into filmmaking, I was like, oh yeah, this would be cool. And I'll never make Star Wars, but like, I could make a movie too, and blah, blah, blah. And then the next step I take, man, I'm out of my 20s, I'm in my teenage years, where, you know, I put Star Wars behind me, because I'm like, you don't get pussy if you like Jedis and shit like that. Now you can, but when I was a kid, no. And then one more step, ladies and gentlemen, on the ramp of the Millennium Falcon, and I was 7 years old again. Fat little Kevin Smith, 7 years old, watching a movie called Star Wars and falling in love, starting a lifelong love affair that triggered my imagination. I played with my Star Wars figures endlessly. I had a kid across the street, Pete King, who had come down from Brooklyn. He had even better Star Wars toys than me. We combined our two. We had a massive universe, and we would sit there and make our adventures together and whatnot, always featuring Boba Fett as the lead, fuck everybody else. And there I was, man. All that shit was gone. Like who I am, what I do for a living, the fact that like I know how the sausage is made, and all that bullshit that one tells themselves, you know, as they do something year after year after year, and it goes from being your dream to your job to your career and back, and sometimes like that. All of it was gone. Everything stripped away, and I stood there feeling like a fucking kid. And I promise you, this is a true story, I swear to God. I was hit with a gut punch of emotion, and you know my gut's big, so the punch was massive. And I started crying. I just welled up, my eyes got glassy, and I just got emotional, and I just started crying. Not in a blubbery like way, but in a really like breathless, you know, absolutely could not believe what I was doing. Fuck the fact that I was like, oh, I'm standing on a set of the Millennium Falcon. I was on the Millennium Falcon. And it was so emotional, I started crying, and Morgan's standing next to me as assistant, and this poor girl's looking at me like, awkward. This fat man's having a midlife crisis on the Millennium Falcon. And you know, she sees me welling up and she's like, "Aw," and I was like, "Sorry." She's like, "Most people get excited when they see it." And I was like, "This is beyond excitement," you know. And I went, whole walk back to the set, so we went back to the set. I'm talking to her and I was just like, you don't understand, man. Like, I was 7 years old. I fell in love with Star Wars. That's my first love. We get to the set, I give JJ the world's biggest fucking hug, and I thanked him from the bottom of my heart because I was just like, you gave me that opportunity to do that, to dial back my clock. You made me believe in movie magic again. You literally built the Millennium Falcon, dude. You're doing it. You are building the field of dreams, and if JJ builds it, we're all gonna come hard over face, neck, and chest. Like, so it was wonderful, man. I saw old friends who were never really friends, but are people and characters that I love more dearly than blood relatives of mine, man. I saw shit that I haven't seen since I saw those movies a long time ago, man. I saw weapons that fucking, I saw some shit. And I want to tell you so much. But anyway, but it was beautiful. It was emotional. And if he captures 1% of what I went through on the Millennium Falcon on the screen, which I've seen, he showed me a fucking scene cut together. He's already fucking got it. I said, you're going to make $1 billion. It's the highest grossing movie of all time, dude, because it is a direct doorway to our childhood. Like, it's going to take people back. And like, I don't like pissing on those other 3 Star Wars movies. I enjoyed them, but I went into those movies with that same clinical, like, I'm an adult. There's no way I could like those movies, these 3 new movies, the same way I liked, you know, fucking Star Wars and Empire and Return of the Jedi when I was a kid. I was a child, and now I'm an adult. I can't see things the same way. And viewed through that prism, those 3 movies were perfectly acceptable, and I enjoyed them and shit. And even moments like Jar Jar, I could look at a kid next to me, and the kid next to me was enjoying it, so I'm like, your generation's stupid, but whatever, you know. But still, it's like, I took it for what it is. It's a perfectly pleasant children's movie and stuff like that. It's different. From what I saw of episode 7, it's like, fuck that horse shit. That's just lies. Lies you tell yourself to make yourself comfortable and shit. What he's doing is so important. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's making that movie that we're all like, oh man, I hope episodes 1, 2, and 3 are that movie. And I like episodes 1, 2, and 3. I'm not shitting in its mouth. But I'm telling you, what I saw of episode 7, the few scant moments I saw of episode 7, the weapon that Chewie held that made me come in my pants. What I saw of episode 7, he's already fucking making what to me is the sequel to, not Return of the Jedi, ladies and gentlemen, Empire Strikes Back. It feels that strong. So anybody out there going like, oh, I hope he doesn't fuck it up, he's not gonna fuck it up. He's really crushing it and shit. Now, I told you that story. Thank you. I tell you that story simply so I can tell you the